Hello and good day. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz from eTurboNews, and this is a breaking news update. For more news updates and shows, please go to youtube.com/travel news group. youtube.com/travel news group. Here's our update.
126 million new jobs expected in travel and tourism this decade. The World Travel and Tourism Council's latest Economic Impact Report, EIR, reveals the travel and tourism sector is expected to create nearly 126 million new jobs within the next decade. The bullish forecast from the World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, which represents the global travel and tourism private sector, also shows the sector will be a driving force of the global economic recovery, creating 1 in 3 of all new jobs. The announcement was made today by Julia Simpson, President and CEO of the World Travel and Tourism Council, in her opening speech at its prestigious Global Summit in the Philippines. The prediction was delivered in the capital, Manila, before more than 1,000 delegates from across the global travel and tourism sector, including CEOs, business leaders, government ministers, travel experts, and the international media. The EIR report shows travel and tourism's GDP is forecasted to grow at an average rate of 5.8% annually between 2022 to 2032, outstripping the 2.7% growth rate for global economy, to reach $14.6 trillion, 11.3% of the total global economy. And in additional grounds for optimism, the report also shows global travel and tourism GDP could reach pre-pandemic levels by 2023, just 0.1% below 2019 levels. The sector's contribution to GDP is expected to grow a massive 43.7% to almost $8.4 trillion by the end of 2022, amounting to 8.5% of the total global economic GDP, just 13.3% behind 2019 levels. This will be matched by a boost in travel and tourism employment, which is expected to approach 2019 levels in 2023, only 2.7% below. Julia Simpson, WTTC President and CEO, said, "Over the next decade, travel and tourism will create 126 million new jobs worldwide. In fact, 1 in 3 of every new job created will be related to our sector." Looking to this year and the next, WTTC forecast a brighter future with both GDP and employment set to reach pre-pandemic levels by next year. The recovery in 2021 was slower than expected, due in part to the impact of the Omicron variant, but mainly due to an uncoordinated approach by governments who rejected the advice of the World Health Organization, which maintained that closing borders would not stop the spread of the virus, but would only serve to damage economies and livelihoods. Looking back a year, WTTC's latest EIR report also revealed that 2021 saw the beginning of the recovery for the global travel and tourism sector. Its contribution to GDP climbed an impressive 21.7% year-on-year, to reach more than $5.8 trillion. Before the pandemic, the travel and tourism sector's contribution to GDP was 10.3%, $9.6 trillion, in 2019, falling to 5.3%, nearly $4.8 trillion, in 2020 when the pandemic was at its height, which represented a staggering 50% loss. The sector saw a recovery of more than 18 million global travel and tourism jobs, representing a positive 6.7% rise in 2021. The sector's contribution to the global economy and employment would have been higher if it weren't for the impact of the Omicron variant, which led to the recovery faltering around the world, with many countries reinstating severe travel restrictions. The WTTC 2022 EIR report also shows travel and tourism GDP is forecast to leap ahead by an average annual rate of 5.8% over the next decade. This compares to the more modest 2.7% average annual growth rate for the global economy during the same period. Global travel and tourism employment is expected to grow in 2022 by 3.5%, making up 9.1% of the global job market, lagging behind 2019 levels by 10%. The 2022 EIR report marks a vast change in fortune for the once struggling global travel and tourism sector, which was left reeling by the impact of the pandemic, due to the widespread introduction of unnecessary and hugely damaging travel restrictions. More news about WTTC.
Thank you for listening to our news update. There's more on youtube.com/travel news group, or you can read us, of course, in going to our news portal at eTurboNews.com or travelnews.online.